Hello, hi, my name's Pete Reed, and I'm studying for the DE 100, Introduction to Psychology, with the OU. And I've noticed as I've been looking through the various forums that people are talking about how they're going to take notes. So what I thought I'd do is just share with you the way that I'm going to be using, how I'm going to be taking notes using Microsoft OneNote. Now, I've chosen Microsoft OneNote for a couple of reasons. The main one being it's free. Now, here we've got the way that OneNote can actually work across multiple devices. So I've got OneNote working on my PC, I've got OneNote working on my laptop, and I've got on my tablet, and I've also got OneNote working on my mobile phone. Now, because it's all integrated, it means that if I record audio from a tutorial onto my OneNote page, I can listen back to it on my mobile phone while I'm walking around the supermarket, sat on a bus, or whatever. If I take a video of a tutorial, then I can watch that tutorial on my tablet, on my PC, or wherever again. As I remember to take notes, it doesn't matter where I am, I can jot them down onto my mobile phone. I could record them audibly, so I could just talk to it while I'm sort of walking and thinking, because I can do two things at once. And again, I can do all sorts of bits and pieces. So it works in all sorts of areas. I can take notes, photos, videos, audio, clip from the web, add to-do lists, and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So let's skip across into OneNote, as I've currently got OneNote set up, ready for me to start this new module. So what I've done here is I've created various sections ready for me to actually work. So I've got TMA01, TMA02, TMA03, 4, ICMA, and the EMA. Over here, I've got a section that's optimistically called Done. And the idea is that as I've actually completed things, I can move them across and put them into my Done folder, and therefore I can actually reduce the amount of stuff that I'm looking at on my screen. Now, each of these sections can actually have a number of pages. So here I've got my start 7th of October and the deadline is the 7th of November. I've then got a page as a tutorial, so that when I go to the tutorial, I can make any notes and things directly into that page. I've got a page for confirmatory bias, because that's part of the tutorial, part of the tasks, part for heritability, part for make sense of a table, and a bit for the reflective stuff. So as you can see, that's the way that I've got this laid out. Now, what I thought would be useful is if we actually go and have a play and actually create ourselves something right from scratch. So if I come across to where it says File, New, and then here it'll say, where do I want to store it? Now, I could store it down onto my own PC, but if I store it onto the PC, then I can't share it. So I'm going to put mine onto my OneDrive here. So I've gone into my OneDrive, I'm going to open a folder, and then I can actually create this. And this is going to be my test notes. And then I click on Create. And with the speed of a wounded gazelle, it will now create my notebook. And the notebook has been created, and what I like to share with other people. Now, what that means is that this is fantastic for collaborative work. So I could invite other people who I was going to collaborate with, and they could see and edit my notebook. So I would allow them to have rights so that we could actually discuss things online. And it didn't matter when they were available or when I was available, we'd be able to do that. But I'm going to say not now for now. And so it brings me into this page. Now, down the side here, we can see I've got test notes. I've got one section, and it's called New Section. I've got one page, and it's currently untitled because there's no title here. Now, let's just do a quick screen familiarisation. Across the top here, I've got my tabs, which are the File, Home, Insert, Draw, History, Review, and View. Underneath here, I've got the tools that's associated with each of those, so I can actually go and see what those are. Now, when I first fired up OneNote from my recollection, I couldn't see that unless I actually clicked on one of those. Now, the nice thing about that is it gives you more area of the screen, more real estate on which to play, but I prefer to see those at the top of the screen. Now, the way I do get that is if I go across to here next to my name, I've got my ribbon display options. So I click onto there, And I've got the option to show the tabs, which is the way that it would normally work. But if I click onto home, then that actually comes down. Or my preference is to show tabs and commands, and therefore these are always visible. Now the other thing that I've got, which is not part of the default, is across at the side here, where it says test notes, because that's the page I'm working on. Here, if I click onto the little pin notebook pane to the side, then I can see my notebooks down the side. Now I prefer to work in that way, and so I'm just going to drag the test notes up to the top of that list so I can see everything that's happening in test notes. Now here what I want to do is I'm going to start by naming my section. So I'm just going to double click onto where it says new section 1, and this is TMA01. And I'm going to click on a plus sign and call that one TMA02. Plus sign TMA03. Plus sign. As you can see, this is not rocket surgery. This is fairly straightforward and fairly easy to do. Now I've come back and clicked on TMA01, and then down here underneath I can actually name this page. So the start for this is the 7th of October, end 7th November. Oops. Okay, so I've now entered that, and I've noticed that there, down at the side here, it's now got that information here. Now underneath, it's got the date that this page was created. Now if I click onto that date, I can actually change that date, and I'm going to change it to the 7th of October. Because I'm not really going to start work on this until the 7th of October. I'm just doing preparatory techie bits, because to be honest, I like preparatory techie bits. Now the other things that I can do inside of here is I can say, well, that's very nice, nice white page. I prefer to have lined pages. So I'm going to come across to where it says view, and then here I can say what layout I would like. So I've changed this to have nice wide lines with a red line down the side, so at least it looks like a notebook. The other thing that I can do as well here is I can change the paper size. So I'm going to set the paper size to A4. And the reason for setting the paper size to A4 is that I would then be able to print this page out if I wanted to at any point in the future. So there is my first bit sorted. Now here I can just click anywhere I want and I can type some text. And there we go. Gosh, that was difficult, wasn't it? If I move outside of that, I could type some more over here. So I've got various ways that I can actually just type things in, and I can move these around just by picking them up and dragging them around. So depending upon how you prefer to work, you can actually use your notebook in any way at all. Now, if I want to get rid of one of those, I've got it selected, so I just touch the delete key, and then again I can touch the next one, and I'm just going to touch the delete key again. Now the way I prefer to work is I like to put in my TMA right at the start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here onto my browser, across onto TMA01, and I'm just going to highlight the bits that I need to tell me what I'm doing. So I've got that, Control C to copy it, and I'm going to come back onto OneNote, click inside of here, and then Control V to paste it in. Now I've got this note in here, and again I can move it around. I can pick it up from the edge and drag it out a little bit, and I can also click inside and edit it, so I can just stick in a couple of lines. So I've actually got a bit more space inside of here. Now what I want to do now is I want to create pages for each of these areas so that I stand a chance when it comes to actually doing my work. Now the first page I want to add is I'm going to add in is my 2 psychological terms. So I'm going to add a page, and then this is going to be called confirmatory bias, because that is going to be the first thing that it says I need to be able to describe. The second one is heritability, so I'm going to add a page, heritability, and then back onto the page. And then I want to make sense of a table, so again I'm going to add a page, And then I want the reflective bit. So again, I'm going to add a page. I'm going to call it reflective. So what I've got now is I've got my TMA all nicely laid out, ready for me to actually start work. Now, what we've also got is the option of having a tutorial that we can attend. Now, I like the tutorials. I think they're well worth going to, even if it's for the chance just to have a cup of coffee and a chat with the other people who are doing the same course as you are. So if I want to add in a tutorial, then I can go to Insert. And on the Insert option, I've got Page Templates. I'm going to click onto Page Templates, and I've got Simple Lecture Notes as one that I've used. But if I expand it, I can see there's all sorts of different page templates available to me. So I've got academic, detailed lecture notes and study questions, maths and science, history class. Well, I'm going to go for Simple Lecture Notes. And then I'm going to close these by just clicking on the cross in the corner. And there's my Simple Lecture Notes. And here I can see it at the side. So I'm going to call this a tutorial. Let's get rid of the word, let's get rid of the word title. And then dots when I couldn't find the delete key. And so there's my tutorial. And it's written called tutorial at the side. Now, I'm going to put my tutorial, I want to move the tutorial so it's up underneath my TMA 01. And then the other thing I would like to do is I'd like that to be a sub-page. So I'm going to right-click on where it says tutorial, and I can then make it into a sub-page. So it's a sub of the tutorial here. So again, I've now got the options of creating all of these various bits and pieces. So there is the basics of how I've actually set this up. Now let's move down onto confirmatory bias. And then what I want to do is I'm going to reach for my mobile phone, and using my mobile phone, I'm going to take a photograph. So I've got my mobile phone here. And I'm just launching OneNote on my phone. Now, because I'm using OneNote and it's linked to my phone, then I can actually see the notes that I've actually created here. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken a couple of photographs with my phone, and what we need for them is to wait for them to actually make an appearance. So there's the first one that I took, which is the front cover of the book, and it's put the second one into the same area. So let's move down a little bit, and if I Control X to copy that one out, I can click elsewhere, Control V, and that will paste it back in. Now if I, again, I can right click onto this, and I can play about with that option. So I can actually rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it left by 90. And as ever, I've managed to put it upside down. So I'm going to go back here, rotate by 90, and rotate by 90 again. And hopefully that's now the right way up. Now it's not very clear, but in actual fact what that is the definition of confirmatory bias out of the book. So that hasn't worked. I'd have needed a better photograph to be able to do that. But as you can see, what I've done here is effectively I have now recorded, or I've got some photographs that I've just taken and put them straight into the book. Now, those photographs were taken on my phone, which are just connected through the web via the my OneNote settings. Now, one of the other things I can actually do here is I can go across to where it says Insert, and I can insert other bits and pieces. So I can insert a table. Now, to insert a table, all I do is put my cursor where I want the table to go, come up to Table, click here, and if I want a nice little sort of 3x3 table, click onto that, and there I've got a 3x3 table. So I could put in, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. Oops. So go into the next cell. 3. And then I can type in anything I actually like into these cells. And it's a table, yeah? If I type in more than is available, then it will actually expand the table to fit. I can put multiple lines inside the same table, so it's very much inserted a table. Now, when I've actually gone to a table, then I get the table properties menu up the top here, my table tools, and so I can select a column, select a rows, delete the table. I can play about and add shading, align different alignments. I can also convert it to a spreadsheet. Now, I'm not going to touch spreadsheets at the moment, but it's fairly easy to do. Clicking outside of the table means that the table tools have actually gone. Click back inside the table, and my table tools are available again here under layout, so I can actually go back and see them. I'll just move that out of the way. Click underneath again, and then here I'm going to come across back to insert, and here I've got file printout and file attachment. Now, I generally use file attachments all the time, but if I wanted, for example, here I've got some notes that I've got on instruction terms, so I click on instruction terms and click on insert. And then I get the option of actually saying insert it as attach a file or insert printout. Well, let's start by attaching the file, and there it is, my attachment is there. So if I was sharing this with people, then they would be able to go and see that wherever it was. Here again, I'm going to go back up onto file attachment. I'm going to attach the same file, insert, and then this time I'm going to insert the printout, and it'll just take a few seconds this time. But there, as you can see, down the bottom of the page there, I've now got the printout of the terms. So what's my tasks to do for TMA01? Let's have a look. Describe. So if I come back across onto my confirmatory bias page where I've just put this in, I can find the words describe, and there it is, give a detailed account of something. Yeah. So detailed and full account of something. So I now understand what describe means, and I can use that inside of my essay to make sure that I'm actually answering the question. So again, I've got insert spreadsheets. I'm not using that. Screen clipping will allow me to clip part of a screen. So I've clicked on my screen clipping, and then if I wanted to click part of that, I could actually select my piece of my screen, and there it is, it's gone in there. I've got pictures where I can go, click on there, and I can insert pictures. So there's the picture of my tablet, my laptop, and my PC, my mobile phone. I've got online pictures, which would allow me to find and insert from a variety of online sources. So it's going to wait while we load pictures. So I get it from SharePoint. I could do a Bing search. Of course, we're working in Microsoft, so therefore Bing is its preferred search engine. So, but if I was to click onto there and search for pictures of Open University, take the caps lock off. So I've searched for Open Uni, and there I've got a few Open University type options available to me. And if I was to pick up one of those, there we go, I like a bit of technology. I can click onto that, click on Insert, click on Insert, and with the speed of a wounded gazelle, there we go, it's inserted that wonderful looking machine. Okay, here I've got the ability to insert online video. I can insert links. I could record audio. Now, I don't usually tend to use this with my laptop. I would tend more to use this with my phone. But if I click up here and just create myself a bit of space, and then click on Record Audio, then it's now audio recording has started. So I'm now recording some audio, and all I would need to do is then to click on to Stop, and that has now stopped the audio. So I've now got a piece of audio here on my screen that I could play. Now, I don't know if you could hear that, because I don't know if the audio that is going to record onto the video, but effectively that allows me to record audio. So I could actually record a piece of text or a speech that was given by somebody at one of the open schools or whatever to make my life a bit easier. So again, I can record video in pretty much the same way. I'm not going to record a video at the moment, purely and simply because I see no reason to frighten the children. I can insert dates, I can insert times, I can insert date and time, I can insert equations. Now this is something that we may get onto in terms of using the chi-squared functionality a little bit later on, but to be honest, at the moment I haven't really got a clue what chi-squared is. I've not used any stats for a long time. I think in fact it's nearly 40 years. So again, but I could insert an equation and then I could type the equation in there. So again, I don't know, 6 plus 7 equals 13. There we go, I've entered an equation. Gosh, aren't I good? So again, I can actually play about with all of these things. Other things I can do as well is I can add in a to-do list. So I'm going to move my cursor down to the bottom of this. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go on to a different page. Let's go on to heritability. I'm going to click inside of here. And what I want to do here is to say, what do I need to do? I need to define the term, explain the term in own words, give an example from the book, reference. Okay, so that's what I need to do. Now if I highlight those, then I can click on my to-do tag and it's actually put a little to-do button down the side. Now I could also say, well, referencing is important. So I'm going to click that, and so as you can see, it's got that, but it's also got a little star against it to say that it's important. So I can actually go through and I can actually give these things various bits and pieces of information that I need to have ready for whatever terms I've actually got. So finally, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click onto here next to where it says test notes, so that we can actually see the way that the test notes are actually working, TMA1, TMA2, TO3, TMA4. And what that means is I can actually move these around just by clicking and dragging them into different positions to put them into the right place. The other thing I can do is if I move into the white space across from that plus sign and right click, I can add a new section group. So I've got one section group which is here, but I can add a new section group, and I'm going to call this done. And the reason I like to have a new section group called done is that when I've completed TMA01, I can just move it across, drag it into where it says done, and there it is in my done section now. If I return, I'm on TMA02 now, so very quickly as I'm going through the year, I'll be able to sort it all out without any problem. Anyway, I've whittled on far too long. I hope you found this useful. If not, don't worry about it. If you did, let other people know. Talk to you later. Bye.